Hello, Flyaway audience. We are here on the beautiful Danube on board the Amalea, and we are very lucky today to be joined by Heather with Disney, with Adventures by Disney. And today we want to talk a little bit about why we're here, what this product is like, and the reasons why you should consider it for your next vacation. So Heather, thank you for joining me today.
You're so welcome, Elizabeth. Really a pleasure.
Thank you. So could you give us just a brief overview of the product, what Adventures by Disney is, and what your role is with Adventures by Disney?
Absolutely. So I have the coveted job of overseeing trip development, and I really do feel like I won the job lottery, so to speak. So before the trip is actually in operations, me and folks on my team, we go out and about and we site inspect, we touch, we smell, we experience absolutely everything before the guests ever get to see it. So everything is thoroughly vetted. So Adventures by Disney is our family guided vacations all around the world. And so our audience is a combination of both Disney files as well as folks that maybe have a Disney affinity with the parks or with the cruise, but they've never known that they can actually travel, whether in the United States or outside the United States, on a real adventure to a real life destination. So we always say one of the big differences is, Disney is part of our brand, it's part of our DNA, but instead of focusing on the fabulous Disney characters, we focus on local characters who help tell the real authentic stories of all these wonderful destinations around the world. I always say the destination is the star of our show. Every once in a while there will be a character appearance, but like you experienced the other day at Schlosshof, a character appearance with Adventures by Disney is usually a local expert telling a very specific story about his or her little part of the world, and oftentimes will be in costume that relates to the era from which she or he's telling the story. So the other day, you probably had a costumed local expert who was dressed as an 18th century lady in waiting, for example. So our portfolio includes about 40 various land programs all around the world. We're on 6 continents right now. We hope to be even expanding that in years to come. And our river cruises are here in Europe. For the time being, we're focusing on the popular European river cruises. We have the Danube, we have the Rhine, we've started selling the Seine in Normandy in France. It includes Normandy as well as Paris. That will start in operations next summer.
Okay, wonderful. So river cruising is a great vacation option that has become more and more popular in recent years, but the target audience tends to be the 40 and up crowd.
Exactly.
Which means it could be mom and dad, but generally not the children coming along.
Exactly.
So how has Adventures by Disney brought river cruising to families?
Exactly. So really good question. When we started thinking about river cruising for Adventures by Disney, it was probably about 6 years ago. And we were concerned because we looked around, we knew it was a rapidly growing sector of leisure travel. We knew it was popular, but as to your point, it was a more mature audience. And so we were a little concerned thinking, what does the world know that we don't know? Why hasn't this product been built for families yet? So the conversation first started with AMA. We needed to find a really good partner. And we got lucky with the first partner with whom we engaged. AMA couldn't be a better partner than the Four Seasons of river cruising. And they came to the table with a spirit of cooperation and flexibility, which was critical for us. So a couple things that they helped us solve even before we started going out and about and doing the shore excursions. The nautical. The nautical is the sailing or docking schedule. They offered up, because the Danube is a very safe, as with the Rhine, a very safe river to navigate at any time of the day or the night, we said, well then we want fewer sailing hours during the daytime because we prefer to have our guests on the land exploring all of these wonderful stories in an active way. We might retain a few hours of a daylight sailing, and this is an example today. We're sailing on the beautiful Wachau Valley in Austria. It's dotted with vineyards and castles, so it's a really wonderful stretch of sailing that has great storytelling, right? But typically, most of our sailing is at night. So the second thing that AMA came to the table with is a willingness with their new ships to add connectors in some of the staterooms as well as triples. So the accommodation suddenly became more intriguing, a better fit for families, okay? So then myself and my team, we started focusing on the land excursions, the shore excursions. We kind of knew, because we had done a lot of land programs in this general area, that there were great stories to tell in active ways, but we weren't sure logistically if they were going to be in proximity to the ports along the Danube. So we started doing what we do, looking under rocks, looking in every single nook and cranny to find the immersive ways to tell the story. So gingerbread making, when we go to places like Schönbrunn Palace in Vienna or the Melk Abbey in Melk, where we're headed this afternoon, it was really important for us to talk with the directors of these museums, of these palaces, to make sure that we could offer really fun children's programming, and that's exactly what we do. So at Schönbrunn, our adventure guides, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about their role because that's a big area of differentiation for us. The adventure guides take the kids and they'll dress up in period garb. They'll learn how, you know, the emperors and the empresses of the day used to have proper dining etiquette. This afternoon we're going to Melk Abbey. It's an 18th century Benedictine abbey. There's a wing where children can dress up as 18th century monks. So they probably, when their parents were trying to sell them on this vacation, they probably didn't say, and you'll get to dress up like a monk. That probably wouldn't have gone so far. However, when they're doing it with the adventure guides, it's really, really fun, and they learn about life in the 18th century. So let me talk a little bit, if you don't mind, Elizabeth, about the role of the adventure guides. So on every river cruise, pretty much with every company that I'm aware of, there's always a cruise manager. And that cruise manager is charged with being wearing a lot of hats throughout the sailing, mostly a concierge. So they're the ones that are liaising with the motor coach drivers, making sure the motor coaches are where they need to be and on time. They're the ones that are helping the guests choose which excursions, if they have any choices. There tend to be fewer choices on most typical river cruises than with ABD, but they really assist in a wide variety of ways, and they're wonderful. So we didn't want to not have them on board. We just wanted to enhance the level of service with our adventure guides. So on our land programs, the adventure guides make the magic. They are the sizzle. I mean, I can do everything right and they just make everything better. I can do everything wrong in trip development, but they somehow just, you know, make it into a magical experience, and all of my mistakes are hidden right behind the scenes. They are so critical to every single trip that we run, whether it's a land program or a river cruise. So on a land program with a maximum guest capacity of 40, we have 2 adventure guides. Typically, one is local from the destination, and one is usually from the US. And our guests love that balance, love that combination. They feel that the one from the US really knows the standards of comfort, the standards of service that are expected in the US, but the local one adds that color and that flavor of the destination. So that ratio of 1 adventure guide per 20 guests, more or less, we thought was a good model to use when we launched river cruising. So most of the AMA newer ships have a guest capacity of 160. Broken down by 4 is 40 times 4, which is 8 adventure guides. So depending on how much we fill each of our chartered vessels, we'll have anywhere between 6, 7, or 8 adventure guides. And they escort our guests on all of the excursions. They help the guests make choices. As I said earlier, we typically offer our guests on an ABD sailing more choices than are usually available on a typical AMA sailing or with another company. And most of our excursions, not all, but most have a degree of physicality to them. So our guides, our adventure guides, are really great with explaining what that level of physicality is. We also have some trips that are active from more of a cultural point of view, like a cooking class or gingerbread making, or in Greece on a land program we make the local kumbaya beads. And so our guides are great about helping our guests make those decisions so that they have the best experience they possibly can on their sailing or on their land trip. So I can't even imagine ABD in the absence of the adventure guides. It really couldn't exist.
Yeah, I love the adventure guides myself. So, and it was interesting being on this trip. I wasn't sure how you would have 8 guides and get to know them, and so you're not assigned 2 guides. It's not like your cabin gets. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Right. Yeah, and so The intimacy of a land program is an aspect that we hear over and over again from our guests, how wonderful it is, and their individual family becomes one big large family, rolling through the countryside. And so we were absolutely challenged by that aspect with river cruising, and so we have created various programming throughout the way to help not only each of our guests get to know the guides, but that the larger group gets to know each other. So most likely you've had a chance to listen to the 2 fireside chats
Yes.
we've had so far
Yes.
with Betty and Veronica. All of our guides, if they haven't already come up with their own fireside chat, that's in the making, so that not every single night will there be a fireside chat, because we want to show movies and have various other entertainment as well on board. But the fireside chats are a way for the guests to really get to know the adventure guides on a very intimate, personal level. But it's also another bonding moment amongst the guests. So that's one example. We're trying to do a lot more. We actually have been doing a lot more of cycling the adventure guides as much as they can through the excursions. Not always easy, because we don't exactly know what guests are going to choose which excursion, and we don't assign excursions. Our guests really get to pick and choose and customize their vacation to make sure it is what they want it to be. The adventure guides have started eating meals occasionally with the guests, both at lunchtime and at dinner time. Another opportunity for guests to get to know the adventure guides, and the adventure guides to get to know the wants and the desires of what the guests are looking for in this particular vacation. So it's little tiny moments like that we're kind of chipping away at some of that challenge.
That's
Yeah.
wonderful. It works so well. I'm getting to experience it, and we really appreciate the opportunity to see it firsthand and experience it. So thank you for joining us today. I really appreciate talking to you.
Such a pleasure.
You're such a great job. What a
Oh,
wonderful,
you are so
wonderful job.
kind. Well, it takes a big team, and we really, really appreciate your support very, very much.
Thank you.
Couldn't do it without you.
Thank you.